Hi everybody. Today we are here with Malin Wilson from Scotland. So hi Malin.
Hi.
So it's a pleasure to interview you. We talked before a few months ago because I really interested to know more about the Commonwealth. So I know that you joined the Commonwealth in the last summer in Birmingham. So I watched the competition. I saw many pictures on internet, but maybe many people don't know very well how is the Commonwealth Games, how important they are in your country. So I would like to have more information. So why not to make this interview? And I think it's going to be interesting. Okay, so first I would like to ask you about these games. If it's the first time you participate in the Commonwealth?
Yeah, it's the first time. In 2014, they were in Glasgow. So I used to live in Edinburgh. When I was training in Scotland, I lived in Edinburgh, and Glasgow is 40 minutes away. So we had a Commonwealth Games at home, basically. And in this moment, I basically starting to train full time. I started training full time in 2013, and the games were in 2014. So I was living the atmosphere and the preparation of these games with the players that went to the games. And Glasgow 2014 was very, very successful for Scottish Judo. And then the next Commonwealth Games were many many years after this year. Um, so it was my first. It could have been maybe my second if there was one in between, but with the coronavirus, with everything, it ended up being cancelled. So Birmingham, which is they named it a home games as well because it's still within Great Britain. But yeah, this was my first ever one where I was fighting.
Mhm. So for the the people who don't know about these games, can you explain a little bit? I know it's a big event. They organize the Commonwealth Games. It's a big event they organize every 4 years for all the countries that before they are part from the British Empire, I think, right? And right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
So the countries that participate in the Commonwealth Games are countries that were or are British colonies. So from New Zealand to South Africa to Canada to Scotland, you have a big range of countries, India, and then many, many islands that honestly I didn't even know existed.
Yeah, before preparing the interview, I checked how many countries they joined the last games, and I checked and it was around more than 30. I don't remember exactly, 34, 35 countries, but surprised me a lot. It's a lot of countries. Australia, yeah, New Zealand, Canada, big countries in judo, and also many islands. So and also other countries like Asia, like India, Pakistan. So finally, it's a big event, of course.
Exactly. It was huge. I don't actually know how many participants there were over all the countries and all the sports, but I do know that there was many of us because even just in the opening ceremony, there were so many people. I don't know how many, and countries like I said that I've never heard of, that then I didn't really interact with because they weren't maybe in our sports. Maybe they were doing only long bowls or something like this. But Cook Island, this was one that I never heard of, and I was looking because everyone was changing the badges. We
Mhm.
all had small badges, and so we'd say, "Oh, let's change with them." And I would see one that I've never heard of the country or the island, and I would look it up on the internet, and there's incredible, so beautiful,
Mm. That's
just
good.
lovely beaches.
Hmm. That's great. And yeah, no, 2 months, 2 weeks ago, I had a conversation with an English coach from Camberley Club in London. near London, and he told me about, we are talking about China, because you know in China also they have like the national games, is something similar every 4 years. And I explained to him that sometimes for the Chinese teams, for the different province, they are more important also than the Olympic game. Not For some of them, it's like more relevant because finally it's in their own country. It's like in NBA for the America, for example, for the United States, it's more important also than the World Championship, for example. And he explained to me that the Commonwealth for many of these countries, they are maybe first the Olympic Games, the second is the Commonwealth, more important than the European Championship or the World Championship. So I think it's important to that the audience know that how relevant are these games in your country.
And certainly for Scotland, it's very important for us because it's the only time as well, in other sports as well, but for me as a judo player, it's the only time that we get to compete for Scotland, because on the international circuit we compete for Great Britain. But without independence we don't fight for Scotland. And so there's Scottish people are very proud, and there's a huge sense of pride and value when we're all competing as Scotland. So when you have the back patch that says Scotland on your back, it's almost like you feel it. You feel that the back patch is there. Normally you're not really aware of what's on your back. And then in terms of atmosphere within the games, there's a big feeling of strength, because all the other sports also feel similar. Of course, there are some sports that are allowed to fight, or not fight, but compete as Scotland, like rugby, for example.
Football also. Yeah.
Football also. They already have these opportunities, but for us, it's different. And knowing that all the sports are able to have this feeling, there's a feeling of unity and pride is the word, really. being Scottish is usually this.
So first, I would like to say that maybe some people don't know, but we know that you got the third place in the. So first, congratulations for that. And I would like to ask you first, before to talk about the competition, how was the qualification system to be part of the Scottish team? How is the process?
So you had to have some sort of international results, or if not international, the next step were within national results, Great Britain results. The thing is we're not so many people in Scotland doing judo, so the criteria was it was strict in a way that it had to be flexible for the number of people that we have and for the quality of players. And I think in some of our weight categories, it even went down to some matches where they did some actual matches to fight off and see who was going to be selected.
And how was your goal before the games? What was your goal in that time?
My goal at that point, my goal was to make it to the Commonwealth Games, because I broke my ACL in my knee in November and was operated on also in November, and so the time frame was very short for me to get back and compete. So really the focus was, if possible, get to my best possible position with my knee to be able to compete in the Commonwealth Games. So I had to prove by doing a couple of international training camps that it was okay, and then also I had to do one competition before fighting in Commonwealth Games, just to say, okay, it's possible.
That's great.
So this was my main focus, was recovering.
Yeah, Yes, not easy to, but okay, at least you were able to join the competition and also to have a good result. So, what can you say about the competition? How was the competition? How was your feelings about in the mat? How was it?
Um, without talking about performance, because
Oh,
my
no,
performance was
yeah.
not
Also, feelings about. I know that your family were there, your coach.
yeah.
I
So
mean, how do you feel? Did you feel like a special competition for you,
yeah.
or how was it?
Other than performance, everything else was um, quite surreal, like very amazing.
Mm.
The crowd was very very alive. There was a lot of lights and like atmosphere. There was a DJ.
Mm.
But I think what most impacted me, apart from the crowd, is the fact that we were fighting on like a stage. The tatami was up
Yeah.
high, and you don't you don't think about this.
Mm.
Even when you see it and you're walking out to the tatami, you don't actually think about this. But for example, in my bronze medal match, where it was much more intense in terms of the crowd was very, very, very animated, and it felt like we were on a stage. It was very high.
Mhm.
um, and yet the crowd really made it very special, and there was lots of lots of Scottish flags in the crowd, lots of people shouting my name, which you know yourself when you go to a judo competition, we're not used to this unless you're in the Paris Grand Slam and you're somebody that already has a name. But for me, it's something new, and knowing that my family was there, because my family they don't get to see me fight, um, and that Javi, my coach, I could definitely hear him, and everybody else in the crowd could hear him also. It was very, very special.
No, I think for our sport, it's good to watch these kind of events with many spectators, with a big, good atmosphere. Because sometimes, you go to some grand slams and finally not many people watching the competition. I think it's a pity because finally always it's great when we have some atmosphere like in these games. Yeah.
Definitely.
Mm. And also the bad news, because my question first is when I prepare the interview is to ask you if you think you can join the next Commonwealth Games. But this week I was reading I don't know, on the internet, social media. I heard that I think it's Australia, right, in Victoria. I think it's Australia, right,
I think
or
so,
Victoria.
yeah.
So I heard that in the program for the different sports, maybe the host country they can select which sports they are going to celebrate. So finally, judo is not in the list. So
That's quite surprising because Australia have a full team.
yeah, so I
Almost,
don't.
almost.
Yeah, maybe although it's not so popular in Australia, but they have a strong team for the Commonwealth. So yeah, for me it's surprising also because judo is Olympic sports, and also I checked some of the sports that they were in the last games, and maybe they are not so popular. Also, some of them they are not in the Olympic program, so quite surprising. But finally, maybe I can guess that you are a bit disappointed, no, with this decision.
I didn't know. you you have given me the information now, so
Ah, you didn't know yet.
I didn't know.
Oh, so sorry, sorry to give you this information. I read in the media, but I don't know where exactly. But yeah, yeah,
Quite
finally.
surprised because, like I said,
Mhm.
Australia have a strong team. A
Okay,
strong team.
maybe the IGF must put some pressure to the to the host country to organize.
There is still time.
Yeah,
Maybe they'll change their mind.
yeah, yeah. I hope still we have the chance to.
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay, about the future, because yeah, we know that as you told before, you are recovering from the ACL surgery. But how's your the next goals for the yeah, because your life, your career not finished yet. You are young enough.
Yeah.
So
No,
what is the
no.
next goals for you?
now my recovery is over. Now I'm training. My my goals for the end of this year and into the following year, into 2023, is to start moving up the ranking list, winning points and moving up the ranking list, because in Great Britain there are several of us, several 57 kilo players, and so at the end of the day, you need to have lots of world ranking points. So that's my goal.
Okay, and the fact that you are turning in Spain, I don't know for how long, but I mean you suppose you are turning 3 years, yeah. So do you have any problem? I mean, if you have a good result, you also can qualify for the Olympics, although you are turning for out of the British Federation or their system. I don't know how it works.
At the moment, the system has a criteria in place, and you must be within the top 36 on the world ranking list in order to, how would I say, in order to be given a place. So, for example, to go to any Grand Slam that you want, you must be within the top 36 on the world ranking list. If you are anywhere above that, so 37, 38, blah, 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 you no longer have full priority. And as you know, in the competitions, only 2 people can go.
Yeah, it depends on
so the next criteria is, obviously there's a few for the results that you get, but the main criteria, which disputes where your ranking is if you live in Walsall, the British National Training Centre. So you can be number 100 and live in Scotland, and then number 110 maybe lives in Walsall. They can decide that this person who lives in Walsall can compete instead of the one who's ranked better that lives in Scotland. So there's a difficulty for us in terms of where we live. So it doesn't matter whether I live in Spain or Madrid or Scotland or China. That doesn't matter. What matters is if you live in the National Training Centre in Birmingham or not.
Yeah, if you are part of the the official team or the team that they train together. Yeah, every country has their different rules. Sometimes.
So my objective, in order to qualify for Paris, my objective is to climb the world ranking list with points and get into the top 36, so that I can fight the Grand Slams that I would like to fight, Grand Prix, and then eventually hopefully qualify for Paris. This is my plan.
Okay, and also changing a little bit about some personal question. Okay, we know that you are a nutritionist also, and you are in Madrid now. So why got this girl go to Madrid for training, or I don't know why is the reason, because you decide to move to Spain. But okay, we are happy that you stay in our country, so that's great. And also I know you are well adapted, speaking perfect Spanish, so that's great. So what is the reason because you decide one day move and go to Spain?
It's a good question. I was in a moment in my life where I wasn't so settled in Scotland anymore, and I was given a couple of Grand Prix and other competitions where I would travel mostly alone. And when I was traveling alone, I met a few times with Javi and Husti, my coach and one of the players in my club, who were also doing the world tour and doing competitions. And I knew them from having competed with them in the Spanish national teams. I'd competed with them a few years before. And when I was traveling with them, they would always help me, and then they would invite me for training in Spain. And that same year, I did the full Spanish team championships. I did the three leagues, and each time I would stay longer for training. And I was very happy when I came and very sad when I went.
Yeah.
And slowly I realized that maybe it was an option to come and live here. And Javi said to me, "Why do you not come here?" And I said,
"Why not?"
I have a list of reasons. And in the end, I said, "Okay, I will go." I had always wanted a coach-athlete relationship, like I saw with Sally Conway and Billy Cusack. Just a coach-athlete relationship that worked. And they were always progressing. She understood everything he said, and he was able to convey everything that he felt and thought to her perfectly. And they just worked better and better and better. And I would always watch, and this is what I wanted, but not every coach is suited to every player in order to have this kind of relationship. So although I was progressing, when I met Javi in the championships and in training, something just clicked, and I suddenly understood a lot about judo that he was trying to explain to me about my judo, and I realized that the relationship that I had been looking for coach player was this. So this was my main point for coming, because I suddenly felt, actually, I want to go to the Olympics, and I want to be the very, very best, and I feel that he can help me with this. So there wasn't much thinking. I just went.
That's great. Do you know that maybe you don't know that I was training monsters before with Justo, but Justi was a kid. I was training with his father in Ibaraki. Yeah,
in Ibaraki, I was there last night. I went to train in Ibaraki yesterday.
So during 4 years, I was training there because I was living nearby, and this is the first gym I met in Madrid, and I decided to train there for 4 years. But Justi in that time is maybe 5 years old. I don't know. So, but yeah, it's great. Yeah.
It's a nice gym.
Yeah. It's a familiar, like a family atmosphere, but it's good. It's good. And also many good athletes. They started in this club, so that's great.
Many.
So about your profession, we know you are a nutritionist. So you know my website is about sports science related to judo. We try to give some advice to coaches, athletes. So now we are here with you. So why not to ask you some just small questions, okay? About because in I think in judo is important, of course, in all the sports, the nutrition, and also for a healthy life. But what do you think about the nutrition in judo? Do you think is how it affect the performance in our sport?
I think being a weight controlled sport, nutrition is very important, and not only so that you can lose weight quickly for your weight category, which is what a lot of people think. I think a lot of judo players, because it's what we've seen in the past, is we know that very close to the competition, it's physically possible to lose a lot of weight. And because we've seen it so many times and we're not really sure what the process is, we tend to leave it until the very last minute and then panic and lose many kilos in the last 10 days, last week or something like this. And usually this is because of dehydration. And I think that nutrition is very, very important in judo because if we continue to do this, then our performance is reduced instead of enhanced. I think losing weight with dehydration right at the very end in the last day, it's not so terrible. But it's not so terrible if in your everyday life, your everyday training, and in all the weeks leading up to the competition, if you've done all of this correctly and you've given everything that your body needs, you've given everything, all the nutrients to your body, then you make it down to a weight that is suitable for your best performance. I think we forget this a lot of times.
Yeah. Although you talk a lot, you talk a little bit about the some of the mistake. What do you think is the common mistake that most of the judo athletes do in order to cut the weight before the competition?
I think the most common mistake is knowing that it is possible. Once you have gone to a competition and you dehydrate 5 kilos in the last day or 2 days, if you have done this 1 time or 2 times, then your mentality is that it is possible. So when you are 2 weeks out from the competition, I think the mistake is usually around 2 weeks before the competition, because maybe in this point they are 5 kilos overweight, but their brain is telling them, yes, but last time for 2 days before the competition, I was also this weight, so I don't have to change anything yet. I think the biggest mistake is having one bad habit. And one bad habit is knowing that it is possible for the body to lose a lot of weight right at the end, but this is not a good thing for our body.
Okay, so Malin, so thank you so much for this interview. I think it's very interesting about all the topics that we talk. So I hope we have the chance to talk again in the future, maybe about nutrition, maybe about some good result, or maybe before the Olympics.
All of the above.
Whatever. But I think for sure it's going to be interesting. So thank you so much for letting us know a little more about the Commonwealth Games. I hope if you don't have the chance to fight in the next Commonwealth in Australia, because finally they don't decide to organize the judo, to hold this sport. Maybe for the next time you can go as a coach, or maybe still fighting. Who knows?
Who knows?
Okay. So anyway, thank you so much, and I hope to see you soon. I don't know, in Spain, in Scotland, or in Kosovo. You can come to visit us. It's always happy. So
Kosovo sounds like a good plan.
okay, that's great. Okay, so
Thanks very much.
And take care. Say hi to all my friends there. Okay.
I will do.
And your coach, Javi, say hi to them. Okay.
I'll tell him you say hello.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.